Hello.
No.
It's okay. Don't get so down on yourself.
Hey, and welcome to Calligraphy Basics, our Calligraphy Basics video part 2. If you missed part 1, obviously go watch it. We are covering the basics, 3 different techniques that you need to know in order to write with a pointed pen in calligraphy. So start with part 1 and then meet back here for part 2. But if you already did watch part 1, in this video we are going to cover wide lines or downstrokes and the technique you need in order to create those pretty wide strokes for all your downstrokes. So as I mentioned in the part 1 video, and as you will see linked below, I have this free modern calligraphy practice pad ebook for you to download. This is what I'll be working throughout this video and all of the calligraphy videos on my channel. It is what I would take with me to all of my calligraphy workshops, and students would have to work through all of my workshops. And now I'm just giving it to you for free. It's pretty awesome. It has the full alphabet in it as well, so make sure you click that link and download your free ebook before we get started. And then you can print it out and trace along with me. Super fun. So in our first technique video, we covered how to hold your pen. So if you don't know how to hold the calligraphy pen, it's really important because the angle is super important so that you don't damage and break your nib. And then next, we're going to continue with that technique. So you're always going to be holding your pen the way I told you in part 1 video. But with downstrokes, there's a special added technique that you need to apply when you're going in any sort of downward motion. So whether it's a curved downstroke or just a straight downstroke, you will always use this technique. So let's get started. Welcome back! I've got my pretty little sheet of layout bond paper that I'm going to use because it's semi-transparent, and if you don't have these supplies, I highly recommend that you use them. Go. But if you haven't watched my supplies video, my calligraphy supplies video, which will also be linked below, you definitely should, because I describe why I use the supplies I use, etc. So, technique number 2 is pressure. Under pressure. Yay for pop culture reference. So anywho, for your second technique, you are still going to, like I said, continue to hold your pen at the 35 to 45 degree angle, like I said, same distance away from the paper, but anytime you're going in a downward motion for your pen, which is a lot of times, you are going to do one pretty little thing. You are going to apply pressure on your pen, on your nib, so that your nib separates and opens and ink flows at a wide stroke. I don't know what I was trying to say with the word wider. So it flows out doing a wide stroke versus a skinny stroke, thin stroke. Okay, so in order to show you this one, we're gonna do a little up close shot and show you how to do the pressure. Okay, so for your downstrokes, make sure you're loaded up with ink and you get rid of that excess ink like I showed you in part 1. But I'm going to start at this ascender line and work in a straight downward motion. So what you're going to do for all of your downstrokes is you are going to apply pressure so that the slit opens and creates a wider stroke. So I'm literally applying pressure on it for it to separate, waiting for it to close up, and then releasing. So that's a really good example when there's no ink flow coming out, so you can actually see what it looks like. So instead of just coming down with no pressure on the nib, you're going to apply pressure, bring it down, and then let it close. Okay, so again with ink, press, release, press, release, lift up, press, release, lift up, press, release, lift up. So just do a few rows like this. You want to make sure that you're not pushing with your fingers so that you're kind of pushing your pen holder up like this, because that's gonna dig and cut the paper, and you're gonna kind of hear it. You're gonna kind of hear it cutting the paper. You want to make sure that you have a light, that you're kind of guiding your nib down with your full arm, your forearm moving down the actual table. So you're, instead of going, that's nice. That's nice and pretty. Let's do a little heart. Nice. So instead of using your fingers to pull it down like this, and you hear that scratch, you're going to be gliding down with your full arm. So just practice a few rows of these straight down strokes. I'm not getting them super even because I'm just trying to show you what it looks like. My entire forearm is moving. And it helps to have your free hand really close to where you're writing so your paper doesn't move around. So practice this a few times. It takes a lot of muscle memory. But if you're hearing a really loud scratch or you're spraying ink all over the place, that means that your angle is either too steep, or you're putting too much pressure on your nib with your fingers instead of your arm. So rewatch part 1 video and really try to get that technique down before you meet here with adding pressure. So you want to make sure that your elbow is leading the stroke. So your pen holder is basically in line with your forearm, and you're pulling straight down with your forearm gliding down the table as well. It's not like a huge dramatic motion, but you just want to make sure that you're not pulling the nib down with your fingers like this, because that's nasty and it's going to damage your nib. So say no to this and say yes to this. Much nicer. Okay, so all of your strokes, all of your letters, you're going to be moving your pen and nib across and up and down and around your paper with your forearm moving. So practice a couple more rows, really get used to it and develop that muscle memory, and then meet up with us in the 3rd technique video where we're gonna start combining parts 1 and 2 for some actual shapes. Get ready, the party is about to start. And before you get there, if you haven't yet, make sure you download my free ebook like I've been preaching about. I'm serious, this thing is gold. So if you haven't downloaded it yet and you're not tracing with me, why aren't you? Do it. Linked below. All right, see you in the next video.